Everybody, and welcome. Are you ready to make 2 cards with 1 stamp set and 1 piece of 6x6 designer series paper? Well, I'm excited to show you how to do that, and I think you're going to like the cards. My name is Kathi Ondus, and I'm with Simply Cards by Kathi, and today is Friday, June 16th, 2023. So I am going to flip this camera down in just a second, and we're going to get started because I don't usually do 2 cards, and sometimes 2 cards makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm going to show you how to do that today. Hi, Mary, and welcome. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy you found me. And if you're returning or watching me on the replay, thank you so much for your support and helping me grow my channel. So I have 2 cards, so we're going to get started. So I'm going to flip this camera down, and we're going to check the lighting here. Then I think that'll give you a little bit better view. So I first just want to bring in my catalog real quick to show you the stamp set that we're using. And this is one that returned this year. We are going to use Nature's Prints. You know, when oh gosh, my mind just blanked. We had a retired stamp set that I was the Forever Fern. I was so bummed it retired. But actually, this one is taking its place for me, and I really, really love it. So we're going to use that today, and we're going to use the 3D Fern embossing folder. We are going to use the dies that come with Nature's Prints. Now, last year it sold as a bundle. This year it doesn't. They're separate. But this is a cling stamp set, and we're going to be using just a couple stamps from here. This big one and the fern, because it kind of goes with that fern embossing folder. And then if you bring the dies in with that whole stamp set, you get some really gorgeous dies. You have a wreath, and all of your stamped images can be cut out. You have some extra sprigs of leaves here, so a really fun set to use. So let's bring that stuff in, and we're going to get started. All right, so I want to show you how we're going to use 1 piece of 6x6 designer series paper for both cards. Now, this is the Hello Irresistible designer series paper, and I really wanted to work with Pretty Peacock and with Lost Lagoon. And this also has some soft sea foam in it. So I chose this piece of paper, and I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And we're going to cut this to 3 3/4 by 5. Now, for the 1 card, I really want this darkened area. So I'm going to make sure that I have that to the right of my blade, and we're going to cut that at 3 3/4. And then I'm going to trim it down to 5. And we're going to set that off. And my next one is going to be 2 inches by 5 1/4 for the second card. So let's just hit 2 inches here. And then we'll be done with this. I want the dark, so let's flip it around. There's a method to my madness, I promise. Okay, so we're done with the trimmer. Let's get this out of the way. And here's our 2 pieces. We're going to use one of these for 1 card and this one for another card. So let's bring in our first card. So we're going to use Pretty Peacock for our card base, and this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Now, please don't worry about measurements, because if you follow me, you know that 99% of the time I give you a downloadable tutorial for free, and that's always available on my website, Simply Cards by Kathi. It'll be up there by 6 o'clock today. I didn't quite get 2 tutorials done. And all the measurements are going to be in there, and the supplies and the step-by-step instructions. So just kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy today's card class. So here is our card base. And then I brought in a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 basic white. Now I've done a lot of the prep work simply because I wanted to show you 2 cards and I didn't want you sitting here for an hour. And I've embossed this with the Fern 3D embossing folder. And hopefully you can see the detail in this embossed image. It's just so pretty. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this, and I'm going to use my green glue. I'm a green glue fan. And we're going to adhere this to the front of our card. Now, one of the big reasons I use green glue for everything is because it allows me to slide things and be able to straighten them out if I need to. But I especially like it on dry embossed images because it gets in those grooves. Yep, it gets in those grooves and allows you to get a good adherence to your cardstock. And I make sure I get my edges real well because I don't want them to pop up. And let's see, I need to straighten that out a little bit. So let's just kind of slide that over. That looks better. And give it a good press. All right. Next, we're going to bring in a piece of 2 1/4 by 5 1/4, a strip of Pretty Peacock. And here's our strip of the Designer Series paper. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this. I hope you have some fun plans for the weekend. It is Father's Day, so I'm guessing many people will be seeing family and being able to do some celebration and enjoy one another's company. I'm going to flip this over, and this is just a touch lot hanging over the edge, my designer paper. So I'm just going to take some scissors and trim that off. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this kind of over to the left-hand side. This is my go-to layout for my cards. I love offsetting to one side a focal point. All right, now we're ready to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in some basic white, and I'm going to bring in my stamps. I just want to show you how beautiful these are. Really distinctive images with a lot of detail, and I just love the way they stamp. Now, when I have a large stamp like this, I almost always turn my ink pad upside down and give it a light tapping because I find I don't get ink along the edges and smear that a lot. So let's go ahead and stamp this one. And then we're going to stamp the fern. And I am going to use the same color. And you can see here I did press a little hard, and I'm hoping that I don't smear it on my paper. And I didn't, thank goodness. So these are the 2 images. Now, I've already stamped several of these, and I've cut them out to save us some time. But aren't they gorgeous? I just love the detail in them. So let's bring in our images. And you can see I've already stamped my greeting. And I stamped these greetings that I'm using today are from Nature's Prints. This one I did You're on My Mind. And I did use the die cut from the prints to cut out my sentiment. This is the die cut that comes with the natural print dies. And then I cut one of these and for this card, and I did cut a fern. Now I've gone ahead and even put my dimensionals on. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and take these off. Now the first thing I want to do, there's a piece of dust there, is I want to put my my greeting on, and I'm going to kind of offset it just so it's the middle of this is coming in with the edge of my banner. And you can see I put dimensionals on everywhere but the top because I want to be able to slide my die cut images behind there. And if I would have put the dimensionals there, I would not have been able to do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to put this down right about here. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. And that looks good. So the next, I want to arrange these behind here. So I'm going to go with my largest one first. And let's just pull these off. I didn't want to pull them off before we did the class because I was afraid they'd stick to things they shouldn't. So if you have been thinking or even contemplating becoming a demonstrator simply for the savings, because you do not have to do any videos or selling or anything like that. But once you join, you get an automatic 20% off savings. And on every future order that you place. And that's a great way to get some supplies. But also, if you join between now or June 1st and June 30th, you can get $155 worth of supplies for $99. So you get quite a bit there. So there is my card. Now I want to be able to put a little bow there, and I'm going to use linen thread. That's one of my favorites. And I'm going to double tie it because I want a double bow. So I'm going to go ahead and I actually make a double strand, and I'm just going to go ahead and make 2 bunny ears. At least that's what I call them. And I'm going to tuck this through here. I can grab a hold of it. Yep, let's try that again. 2 bunny ears. Sometimes these go together so easy, and sometimes I'm all thumbs. Okay, here we go. So here's my bunny ears, here's my bow, and I'm just going to work those ends. And I don't mind if they're a little bit uneven. I kind of think it gives it some dimension. And that looks good. So I'm going to trim it down here with my snips. Let's just cut this off. I know I sound a little hoarse, and I'm not really sure why. So here's my bow, and I want to just get this side a little bit smaller. Straighten it out, and we're going to grab a glue dot to stick that on. Now I want to dress it up a little bit. I'm just going to put a glue dot on the back of there. Once I get it on there, I just kind of ball it up a little bit. Let's get our string out of here. And I'm simply going to put this right in here. And you can place it wherever you want. Now for my embellishments, I'm using the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm going to go with a medium size one right here. Let's go with another one. I'm going to put that one here. And then let's go with a little one, and I'm going to put that one right down here. All right, so there's the outside of our card. Now let's do the inside. So the inside, I am using a piece of basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. And I am going to bring in my pretty peacock, and I'm going to bring the large stamp back in, and I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to turn it over. Okay, so on this, I'm going to double stamp. So it's almost like stamping off. So here I'm going to go off to the side, stamp down, pick up, stamp again. And you've carried your design over from the front into the inside of your card. Now with this card, I'm leaving it blank so that I can write a personalized message, or I may stamp something on the inside later on, because with You're on My Mind, that's a pretty, you can use that for sympathy. You can use it for a get well, or somebody that's recovering or recuperating from a surgery or an illness, or even someone that's just going through a hard time that you want them to know you're thinking of them. So it's a very versatile greeting. And a lot of times I wait to add my internal sentiments until I know how I'm using the card. That way I'm not limited. So here's our first card. All right, now let's go on over and do our second card. So our second card, we're still using Pretty Peacock. Let's move this out of the way. We'll bring it back in after. Same size, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. But this one, we're going to do something a little bit different with that designer series paper. I've cut a piece of Lost Lagoon. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And remember this piece of designer series paper that we cut initially? This is 3 3/4 by 5. I ran that through the Fern 3D embossing folder. And look at the depth and dimension of that with the colors and the embossed images. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to adhere this to the Lost Lagoon. So we've added our first and second layer, and now we're going to add it to the front of the card. Aren't those colors striking together? I just love them. I love the Pretty Peacock Lost Lagoon and the soft sea foam together. Okay, now I went ahead and I stamped my greeting just like I did before, but this one is a heartfelt thank you. And then I stamped and die cut 2 of these larger, I guess they're ginkgo. They almost look like ginkgo branches. So let's go ahead and put our greeting. And again, I left it without Stampin' Dimensionals up at the top of the die cut for the greeting. And we're going to go ahead and put this down, and I'm going to put this right about here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my 2, I'm going to call them ginkgo, and I'm going to fit them in here so that they look like something similar to that. So again, let's remove these. Now, the only reason I'm calling him ginkgo is a couple doors down from me, I noticed a tree as I was walking the pup the other day that the leaves look exactly like this. And when I asked what kind of tree it was, it's a ginkgo tree. So let's tuck this in here. And I want this branch to kind of just cut on the edge there. I want to tilt that a little bit more. Now let's go ahead with our second branch. I have these, you can find the backs of the dimensionals all over the house. So I keep this, I think this was a cottage cheese, a little cottage cheese snack carton. And I keep this here on my desk, and that's what I use to put my backs in so that they're not quite. And I made a mistake and put a dimensional on here where I don't need one. So let's go ahead and take another 2 off. I was trying to get so prepared that I wasn't even thinking. So we're going to do this right here. Don't those look pretty together? Now we're going to do a bow here also. And just going to do that quickly. And we're going to finish this card up very similar to the other one. We're going to add some iridescent rhinestones. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring my ends down a little bit here. And let's trim this off. So I'm going to trim them here and snip this one. And now I can work with my bow and get it just a little bit tighter and smaller. I love linen thread. It's one of my favorites. Let's trim this up here. Okay. And we can trim it further if we need to once it's on the card. So we're going to pick up a glue dot here. And I'm going to pop this on right here. Oops. I pulled on my bow, so we're just tighten it up there. And then there we go. And then I'm going to trim these down just a little bit more. All right. So here's the front of this card, and we're going to add our gems here. Now I'm going to go with a big one this time. It's just, I'm going to put it here, and let's go with a medium one. Let's go here. And then I'm going to take another medium one, and I think I'm going to put it right here. All right, so that's our outside of our card. And then our inside, oh my goodness, here it is. I was going to say I lost it. So on our inside, I'm going to do pretty much the same as I did with the last one. I'm going to ink this up and stamp twice. I'm going to stamp once full strength and once stamped off. So again, and we're going to go ahead and add that. Let's get that out of the way. And I'm going to show you, I did the same thing with the envelopes, and it makes just a gorgeous piece of stationery. So let's go ahead and add this. Now, if you like ideas and you like free tutorials, go over to my website, Simply Cards by Kathi, and sign up for my newsletter. Each week, I send you 2 to 3 free tutorials that are not on my website, and keep you up to date on Stampin' Up! And what's going on with Simply Cards by Kathi. So if you go on over there and sign up, you will get a free tutorial, and then each week you will get a free tutorial, a couple free tutorials with my newsletter. So here's our 2 cards, and I stamped the envelopes the same as I did on the inside, and what a pretty piece of stationery. So let me bring you back to me, I hope you enjoyed today's. Give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. You'll get notified when I do a live video or when I post a new video. And I will be back with you on Tuesday at 11 a.m. So have a wonderful weekend. Happy Father's Day to your family members, and we'll see you soon.